Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi, Lizzie.
So thank you so much for agreeing to do this interview. And why don't you begin by telling us like how old you are and like who you are and just like that. You
Okay.
ready?
So I'm 29 years old. I'll be 30 in November. And I just had my first son. He is 6 months old as of 2 days ago. And I live in Miami, Florida. Not originally from Miami. I was born in Spain and then lived in New York when I was a young child and then moved to Miami when I was about 6. So I've been in Miami the majority of my life. And I met my husband when we were in high school here in Miami and then went away to college at University of Wisconsin. And we always stayed in touch and got married after college a couple of years after at 27. So we've been married 2 years, but we've known each other for much longer. And I work. I'm an employee of the University of Miami. And I had Jordy, who was named after my father, who passed away during coronavirus. Luckily, it was before coronavirus was really real to the United States, but he's definitely been in quarantine for his entire life. So that's different. It's actually made it a little bit easier as a mom, but also comes with its own stressors. So it's an interesting time. And yeah, I think
So,
that sums it.
yeah, no. So what was your major in college?
I majored in communications, so like media communications, and then after college, I got a job at Time and Fortune magazine in New York, working for their events department. So I kind of was in events, even though I didn't really know that that's where I would end up. So I ended up doing that events in New York and in Miami for about 10 years. And then as of recently, I changed careers where now I'm in fundraising. So not so much events, more on the business side.
So how did okay, so I guess the first question is how's it going? How's it going?
Loaded question. um, it's going great, but it has its ups and downs. I'm currently reading several books on sleep training because that's the number one concern around here. I was actually furloughed from my job for a month, which has been a blessing because it kind of gives me time to just focus on the baby. Whereas before, when I was working from home because of quarantine, it was work and baby. So my time was really split and it was really hard to focus on him and focus on work. Luckily, I do have help, but still is really challenging and not what I had planned for either. I was planning to go back to work, have him stay home with my mother-in-law, and then eventually go to daycare. But none of that really happened. So it's interesting. I kind of question, like, would he be on a better schedule if I would have just gone back to work because his feedings would have been more regulated and maybe his sleeps would have been more scheduled. But anyway, so we're kind of all over the place in terms of.
Why do you think things would be more regulated if you went back to work? What?
Well, since I'm thinking if I would have gone back to work, I would know exactly how much he's eating during the day because I would be pumping at work. But since I'm home with him, I'm breastfeeding and he kind of gets to breastfeed whenever he wants. So he sees it as whenever I'm hungry, I'm going to get food. But now he's at 6 months where it should be more, okay, these are the times when you eat so that he can consume as much as he needs to and then I can have a break. So we're trying to figure that out.
So you're kind of
But
on now, like 24/7. Is that kind of?
yeah. Now I'm with him so I can really kind of focus on his eating, and that we're starting to try solids, and his sleeping. So that's really been the focus there. I feel like it's interesting. I feel like the biggest challenge, one of the biggest challenges, the new relationship I have with Andrew, like my husband, because it's a whole new dynamic now. So much of our affection and our time goes to the baby. And I never get frustrated with the baby, even though he's not sleeping and I'm not sleeping. Nobody's sleeping. But my frustration goes towards my husband because he's a grown human that I can share how I feel towards.
Right.
So that's been challenging, but working through it and both kind of understanding the situation, and so it we have some bad days and we have some better days. But that's definitely probably one of the biggest challenges I feel like out of all of this, because that's new and kind of, you heard all these other things, but you didn't hear that part.
Right.
For me.
Right. And what sleep deprivation can do to our ability to whatever function and whatever, be polite, whatever, be simple. And
Exactly.
yeah, I remember, trust me, that everyone anyone who's had a child older than 6 months can totally relate.
Yeah.
So, what is Andrew's involvement? Like where and how does he play a role in the scenario?
Very involved, which is great. Andrew is self-employed, so he has the ability to make his own hours and be around if needed. So that is wonderful. But I would say, he's the distractor. So I'm more the regulator. Like, I'm trying to come up with the schedule and stick to it, and but I get so tired by the end of the day. I just need Andrew to make the baby happy so that we can get to the end of the day, So he's really good at that, just kind of taking the baby. He's on a walk with him right now. They're outside, which Jordy is so much happier when he's outside. So he can do that and give me a break, and that's really where he comes in. And it's tough because I feel like, because I'm the way I am, just I like structure and I like lists and I like knowing when things are going to happen.
Absolutely.
So Andrew gets a little, can I do this? Is this okay? And sometimes I very much appreciate that because I am trying to set a schedule. And then sometimes I'm like, I don't know.
Right.
I'm just as lost as you are.
Figure it out. Right.
So yeah, but he's great. So actually Andrew's been making, now that we're trying solids, Andrew actually has made all the baby food from a homegrown garden here.
Oh my gosh.
So that's been great to say, like, this is your thing.
Yes.
What are we feeding the baby? You tell me, so that he can like own it.
Yeah.
Which is really nice because he's growing the food, he's pureeing the food, he's freezing the food, so he knows what. Yeah, so that's awesome, and he's so proud that he can feed his baby food from his garden. Right. So and that's super cool.
Because he doesn't have breasts.
Exactly. I wish he did.
He doesn't have mammary glands. Yes.
Yes.
So who came up with that idea? Did he or did you?
Which idea?
The idea to grow and do for him to kind of take over that.
Well, gardening is actually something Andrew's been interested in for quite a while. We actually started a small business here in Miami that helps people have home gardens in their backyards. So he'll go to people's houses and build out a custom garden and put in all the plants for them. Yeah, so he's gotten really interested in it over the past year. And so he's really proud of the garden. So growing.
We do a little mention for Andrew if anybody wants to contact him. Like what?
Yeah, it's the Little Carrot of South Florida, which the name is inspired by our little carrot, the baby.
Oh, what is it? The Little Carrot
of South Florida.
Dot
com.
Dot com.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that idea. So he'll come and he'll make you the box and whatever, the whole.
Yeah, he'll dig out the grass, he'll put in the soil, he germinates his plants. So they're ready to go, and this is kind of not the season right now. Summer in Miami is hard to grow, so it's really October that is our season. So we've had a good amount of clients so far. So, and everyone has really positive feedback. So I think that when the season comes, he'll be really ready for to have all the new stuff to harvest or to grow.
I just think I didn't know you guys were doing that. That is the coolest. I just love that, and I love that I just think that's such a wonderful.
Yeah, and it's great. I love that he can own it because I'm just a little exhausted by like the breastfeeding and the sleeping and it's so demanding that to say, now it's your turn.
Right.
Is like such a relief.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So do you have a certain time frame with which you're going to pump, you think? Or I mean, not pump, breastfeed? Like, how long do you think you'll breastfeed?
I told myself at the beginning mentally that I could do it for 6 months, which is now. So I'm kind of hitting that breaking point. But given everything that's going on with the COVID, I am encouraged by my pediatrician and myself to try and go for the full year, just because it's so much healthier for the baby and the antibodies and that kind of thing. And given everything that's going on, I can't control everything, but if I can give him that safeguard, I feel like would be better for me and for him. And it's a little bit easier. Well, not easier, but I'm home, so yeah. It's not easy, but
Oh.
if I can, I made it 6 months, and hopefully with some solids it'll be less, and then a year seems like it can come.
Yeah. So, what skills do you think mothers need?
Patience, number one. Definitely patience. What else? That's just the number one. I think that I don't have a lot of patience in general. I get really easily irritated, and I've had to remind myself almost daily to have patience with the baby, because it's not his fault that he doesn't nap well, or that he,
Right.
So I that's like just the number one that sticks out. I feel like I read, prepared myself in terms of resources beforehand, but once in the moment, I feel like it just kind of goes out the window.
What do you mean prepared yourself? What do you mean?
Like reading books. I feel like I was more prepared, I guess, for the pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
Which you can't really do much during pregnancy other than wait. So, but it's more preparing for the birth, especially for the first time. But now I feel like I don't have time to look up like that many resources. So I just kind of go with like my gut on what to do more than anything.
So do you now So patience, that's terrific. Um, oh, so then my next question was, what is one skill that you are working on? And so what is your strategy, let's say, for improving your patience?
Just mental reminders. I have to give myself a lot of mental reminders that, like, it's mostly at night when I'm a morning person. I'm not an evening person, and at like 4 or 5 p.m. I'm like, I don't know what to do with him anymore. I'm so checked out at that point. I just want it to be 7, which is bedtime. So I'm literally counting the minutes. Like, what do we do for the next 2 hours?
Right, right.
And that's where Andrew like comes in, but sometimes he's still at work, or he's not available, and I don't want to turn on the TV. He's done with the play mat, he's done with the bouncer, it's hot and buggy outside, so he just hit that breaking point, and I kind of forgot what the question was.
Well, just in terms of mothers setting goals for themselves, in terms of what skills we want to work on and improve, like as if you were a volleyball player or a basketball player, what, and you want to improve your whatever, you find your weak in dribbling, or your weak in free throws or something like that, and you want to improve. And so what do people do? They practice, or they set out whatever, they figure out a goal for themselves, right? And then, like, okay, I'm going to try to in terms of patience, let's say, like, but if I think I always personally, what I did is I logged, and I saw how many times, like, I mean, it's awesome that already between 4 and 5, or between 4 and 7, or 4 and 6, it's just that 2-hour window, at least it's not like all day long typically, you know what I mean? And sort of strategizing for that 2-hour period when Andrew can't cover, and using our cognitive skills to creatively brainstorm in terms of, because what I think is so fabulous about motherhood is that, half the population, I mean, so many people have been before you know, and have had this exact same issue. And it's kind of like, okay, what have they done? So I don't know. I mean, what did your mom do? You have such a great mom, and she's so creative that I just find that our mothers are so resourceful in terms of this type of thing, and fellow mothers, you know what I mean? Like, because Elisabet, I remember being in that exact thing. Like, what am I going to do with the baby for 2 hours? Ah! You know what I mean? So, okay. So,
in terms of strategy, I don't have one. I wait till Andrew gets home. I'm like, how many more minutes until you get home? Is it 5? Is it 10? Just tell me how many minutes, because I need you to pick him up and take him somewhere. That's my strategy.
So the strategy for right now is what? Texting Andrew, or calling?
I say, what's your ETA home? How soon? How soon will you be home? And I mean, he works a job where he's in labor, so he has to come home and take a shower. And so I'm like literally in the bathroom with the baby, like, okay, hurry up.
I want to hand over. Well, this is one, I mean, maybe you will strategize. Maybe you'll ask him for an idea. Maybe you'll sit down, if you have a moment, and say to yourself, whatever, you'll figure it out, right? You're a very, very smart, intelligent person.
Well, as they get a little, like, obviously his development is getting more and more every day. So hopefully we can now have one more activity, which is solid foods. Like we could do that at 5 now. So that's exciting because I know that during that time, that's another activity I
Oh,
can do.
right. And that
So,
could be maybe.
and then I can introduce water and like that'll take up like another 5 minutes. And maybe like, you know, like I'm just like every minute I count during that time. In the morning, I'm fine. We have the same routine every morning. As long as I get a little bit of sleep, I love it. It's great. But it's just the afternoon. I can't.
Right. It's the challenge. It's the current
Yeah.
challenge. Well, I remember thinking probably at about Grant when my first son, yeah, when Graham was 6 months old, my first child, thinking nobody ever told me that this is so hard and so intense and blah blah blah. And then when you're out of it, you totally forget. So here's what I guess I wanted to communicate to you is that it's a very short period of time that you'll be in this. And I don't know if maybe your mom has told you that and all that stuff, but it really is. It ends and then it's over. So you have that to look forward to. It's like almost like a flower that just they're in bloom, and then so this particular phase goes away, and there's light on the other side, like probably not too far away, like probably very soon because of the solids thing. So that is like huge milestone. When they start to eat solids, you're like, oh. All right. So here's my next question. Do you have an overarching philosophy of your mothering? Like, do you kind of have do you have an overarching philosophy of motherhood?
I mean, I guess I've never thought about it. But I think I'm pretty, like I'm not stressed out about motherhood. But at times, under the circumstances of COVID and other kind of things that are going on around this time are more stressors. So in terms of like, I haven't been like afraid for Jordy and like for us and like raising him. So, which I'm thankful for because I have like other anxieties.
Yes.
But so like I see myself as someone who's calm, especially like under pressure. So I've utilized that with him in terms of he's crying his head off and I can just continue to remain calm until he's in bed. So I guess an overall philosophy is just staying as calm as possible because it's not going to do me any good to stress out in a stressful situation.
No, I think that's beautiful. I think that's terrifically, to have as an overarching ideal or whatever for us to, keep reaching for that, to be calm, because our children do, baby Jordy is constantly looking up at you, right? I mean, in your eyes and looking to you for cues. And so that, do you know what I mean? Like Madonna and child, it's like, okay, Madonna meaning, historically through history of, it's the mother looking down at the baby. It's that gaze of they're always looking to you for cues about how to be in the world. And so I love that you're, the idea of being calm and stable and equanimous and, peace as much as possible. I mean, let's be realistic, just like the basketball players or volleyball players, you win some and you lose some in terms of, but it's great that that's your overarching
Reaching for,
reaching for, exactly. Okay, so so my next question was, what kind of help are you getting? Like who's on your team, so to speak, to help?
I have a lot of help, and I'm so fortunate for the help that I have. I mean, I have Andrew, who, as I mentioned, he's flexible. We live with our in-laws, and my mother-in-law also has her own business, so she works from home a lot. So our plan was she was a preschool teacher years back, and she works with kids a lot. So she was really excited about the idea of taking care of Jordy when he was little. Whereas my
First
mom,
grandchild? I'm sorry.
what was that?
Is it her first grandchild?
Yes, her first grandchild.
All right.
Yeah. So she's here and available and really helpful because sometimes 7 a.m. we both need a little bit more sleep. We can go right next door and give him to our in-laws, which is amazing. And I know that not a lot of people have that.
That's
And then I have my family, so my mom and my brother and my sister. It's been a little bit more difficult because of the situation. So I feel like we haven't seen them as much as we would have given if this COVID wasn't happening. So
right.
it's been hard. But as long as everybody is staying safe, then I'm comfortable having them around the baby. But if they're not and they have to go back to work, then they can't see the baby. So that's hard. But yeah, we have a lot of help, which
So
makes
is your mother-in-law a resource for that 4 o'clock window?
um yes and no. Yes, she definitely is, but since I was working from home, I definitely utilized her more during the day and with him because I had to work. So come the end of the day, everybody's tired and she wants to get dinner ready. You know what I mean? So
Right, of
I
course.
don't want to push it, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
my responsibility and Andrew's responsibility in the end. Um, but yeah, I mean, now that I'm not working, I definitely have more time with him during the day where I'm sure they're all more than happy to help with him.
Yeah. Well, I already can feel it. You're moving through this 4 to 6 o'clock thing. I can already feel that you're gonna like come up with something and you'll be like, all right, I nailed it. Okay, so what is one goal you have for your child?
Um,
Like thinking about him, like
mhm.
as mothers, like we think about our children growing up because they do grow up, believe it or not. I mean, that was always like, oh my gosh, they're growing up. What? I,
Our goal, I mean, I know our goal is for him to be connected to nature, connected to the outside, so connected to the environment. I feel like we grew up in a time where technology wasn't as big as it is now, and you can easily see kind of kids who are growing up now feeling disconnected to their peers or disconnected to people and disconnected to the world in a way because they're more connected to their technology. So for us, and Andrew and I were very, very outdoorsy and just want him to be connected to the environment, to outside. I think that's probably our biggest goal with him, and I feel like with that will come compassion and
I love that. That is so, and I think that's so wonderful for people, women who may be watching this or men who want to, you know, I just who my point was that people who may be considering having children, and I just think that's such a wonderful. I love that you guys are gonna that's gonna be a focus for you all. I love that. Um, so I think I've got two more questions. So where do you glean inspiration for your mothering? I mean, you said you read books. Do you do you watch movies about women? Do you read novels about, not women, mothers? Or do you, like, is there, do you, where do you glean inspiration for your motherhood? Your
I
mother?
mean, definitely my own mother would be the number one inspiration in terms of her humor and lightheartedness towards situations has helped me with my goal of trying to be calm. When I tell her he's not sleeping, she says, "You'll never sleep again." So she's not like helpful in terms of giving me tips and tricks, but she's realistic and makes me laugh, which is better than the other stuff.
Absolutely.
Um, so that obviously is my number one. And then, I mean, right now I don't have a lot of friends with children, and I don't, so I don't really have those inspirations. I think I will be like a resource for people in the future when it comes to my friends who decide to have children. Um, you know, I also have my mother-in-law who had 4 children herself, and since living with her, I hear a lot about what they went through and her stories. So I definitely hear relate to those. In terms of other, I mean, I'm not like I'm not techie, so I feel like some people would find, like, in this day and age, influencers, or
The what? What?
they may find influencers
Oh,
like on social media as a resource, but since I'm not really like I just don't,
yeah.
it's too much information for me that
Yes.
I don't look at it.
Yes.
So that's not a resource. So yeah, I feel like it's more gut instincts. And my pediatrician, I asked her everything.
Yeah.
She lets me text her, so she's amazing.
Sweet. Oh my God.
Yeah. So I try not to take advantage,
Right.
but I'm like,
Now, how old is
she
she?
also has one. She's around my age, a little bit older, but she just had a 1-year-old. So, and she gave birth at the same place I did, so she
Oh
was definitely
my gosh.
to say, to ask questions too.
I don't even know. Did I introduce you that you're my niece? I don't even know that I even said that in the beginning. So anyway, for anyone who doesn't know, Elizabeth is my niece. Um, and the newest member of the family to have a baby. So welcome to the
The
welcome.
mommy group,
Yes.
mommy club.
Um, and well, it's quite a rite of passage, don't you think?
Oh, it sure is. I mean, birth is no joke. Like, everybody's like a mom. I don't even know how it's possible. This is so hard. And the people who have twins, I don't know how it's done.
Yeah.
And I hope, I mean, we want more children, but I just don't think I can handle 2 at once. But,
Right.
you're married to a twin, so.
I absolutely. Right. So if I interview Grammy Jill next, then
Bring up the twin thing.
bring up the twin thing. Exactly. So, okay. Well, I guess I wanted to say that one of my inspirations, I remember reading, one of my motherhood inspirations was from John Steinbeck's novel, The Grapes of Wrath. And I don't think the movie does her justice, because she's sort of portrayed as, like, I don't know, this like large I don't know, she's okay, but the book, the description of the mother figure was how she used to get up in the morning. She'd be the first person to get up, and she'd have to, make the fire and the coffee. This was during the Dust Bowl and the whole. Anyway, it's just, I have never forgotten that, and just how much she inspired me to just be a mother and caretake, and just get up early and, like, make people's coffee, and just, what do people need I don't know. So it was just, so I just feel that I'm always searching for in novels, movies, reading about motherhood. Because especially in art, we can always, and your mother, of course, would have so much to say about this. We can just glean so much inspiration from seeing mothers in art. And so anyway, okay, so I think we're coming to my last question. Here it is. What would you say to the young women out there who may be contemplating raising a child? One thing to pass on to them in terms of helping them in their thinking. So, okay, that was kind of two questions, but so it doesn't have to be just one thing, but just what would you say to the young women out there who may be contemplating raising a child? Or having a child, adopting a child, like that.
I would say I can't imagine doing this alone. So when it comes to your partner, knowing their strengths and their weaknesses in a way, because I really fall back on him during this whole thing, every day. So just knowing kind of who they are, or at least their morals. And I don't think that you're going to agree on everything, but at least the big picture stuff should align. And also understanding, I have to also remind myself that they do it different, that he has different instincts than I do, and he's going to do things differently. And I need to be okay with that because we're partners in this. So if he wants to do it one way, I'll let him do it that way, and I'll do it another way the next day.
Right.
So, I mean, that's the biggest lesson for me at this point, at 6 months is just having somebody that's on your team.
Yes, I love that. So I mean, I remember reading something when my kids were little about how babies, in terms of when they're interacting with their fathers, they get different, like they look differently, because for them, fathers are about fun. This is kind of what you were addressing in the beginning. And they associate their fathers with fun, really playful and all that kind of stuff. And that they associate their mothers more with what you were describing, the routines, the regimens, the stuff like that. And I don't know if that's fathers maybe I think it was saying that fathers play differently with their children than mothers do. And I don't know if mothers are more no nonsense, just what you were saying in the beginning. But I loved how it said that the baby, if it can see a father coming, to come, let's say the baby's in a little swing or car seat or something like that, they get all they can start to totally wiggle because they kind of are anticipating, oh, we're gonna have fun time. And that with mothers it can be more they might burst into tears because they know they're going to get full out whatever they need, love or closeness, breast, and anyway, I always thought that was
I mean, from my perspective, it's very true. He doesn't burst out into tears when he sees it, but he definitely has a lot more time with me right now, especially during the day. So I'm at 5, he's bored of me.
Right.
He wants the other face.
Well, Elisabet, I want to thank you so much for this conversation. You have some wonderful things to say and to share, and I just really, really appreciate you carving out your precious, part of your time is precious. And right now,
well, it's 4, so he's with Dad, and I'm doing something different.
We love that. We love that. Right. How long can we extend this interview? Problem is, I don't have any questions left. Well, all right.
They're gonna be walking through the door any second.
All right. All right. Well, go have a few minutes then to yourself. But thank you again so much. And I love you. And I will, you know, you'll see yourself. I'm going to download. I don't know that I'm going to put it on you on the channel. Like sometimes it takes me a couple days. So whatever. But
happy to do it. It's a good chat. And I'm going to watch your mom's and the other ones that you do.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Lizzie. Love you. Say hi to the family.
I will. Okay.